Hello, Bravo bosses, and welcome to the Bravo Investigator Podcast with me, your host, Dana. Today on our Monday Reality Roundup, we are talking about the secret lives of Mormon wives, Love is Blind, Love Island, The Traitors, The Valley, The Real Housewives of Miami, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Teen Mom. And today I am very lucky to be joined by Caitlin Marshall, better known as Besties by Caitlin on Instagram. You may have also seen her cameos in season 2 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So I'm very excited to get all of her fun opinions today, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Caitlin Marshall, welcome to the Bravo Investigator Podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. I've been following you for so long. Your content is really funny. You have this really hilarious disposition. And I don't know if it's inappropriate to say, but you're so pretty. And I hope you agree. You think you're really pretty. I hope you agree.
Do you think you're really pretty? So is it true you think you're really pretty? First of all, it's never inappropriate to give compliments. Thank you so much. And I love your content. I'm so happy to be here. I just talking about what I like to talk about and sprinkling a little bit of my own insanity in.
Well, that is my favorite, and that's why I wanted you to be here. But also, you have been the breakout star of season 2 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I don't know if everyone saw Caitlin make her appearance. So anyone who's watching this episode on YouTube today, you may recognize Caitlin as the 8th Mormon wife. So basically interspersed between episodes, I guess to give updates on what was going on in the comments, Hulu had TikTokers and their TikTok posts showing what was going on. And one of those people was Caitlin.
Yes. You know what? We had chatted a little bit about this beforehand. I'll tell you about how that all came to be.
Yeah.
So originally, I'd been working on my TikTok as hard as I could, and I just wasn't getting much traction. And then when I discovered Brett and me, well, Brett used to be married to Angie Harrington, one of our kooky friends on Salt Lake City. And so I just found it pretty fascinating, the whole dynamic there. And that video popped off and I was like, you know what?
Yes.
I'm kind of obsessed.
That's what I remember you from. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where it started.
Yeah. And so I had heard this rumor that allegedly Jesse and Marciano from Vanderpump Villa were being very touchy-feely and intimate kind of with each other over at TomTom or at Sir. And this was, I want to say it was September time. And what was crazy is I happened to randomly have a friend who's not a public figure, she loves Bravo, but that's about it. And she was in the room with them and I'm messaging with her.
Oh my God.
And while this person was like, well, I don't see them making out, it had been circulating. So I just went, okay, I didn't do my hair today, but I'll go ahead and make a video about it. Well, of course, that's the video that I get an email from Hulu about. And I had just gotten a new phone, hadn't connected one of my emails. And I went one morning, it was 5 a.m. And I go, oh, I forgot to check this email. I have 5 emails from them and I'm going, it's panic, screaming, crying type of moment. I mean, not crying, but you know what I mean. So I was very anxious about it because I didn't know the context. And I was like, please don't make me look like a moron. And I didn't know what all was coming from it. And when I saw it, at the very end, as part of that cliffhanger, I was just like, oh my God. Is everyone going to think I'm nuts? But people have been very kind. It was a lot of fun. I do believe they're going to be doing the same type of usage of TikTok videos, I will say, for next season. That I guess we're still doing season 2 for the back end of season 2. I can give you that bit that I do know they are going to be doing that type of thing again. So
very, very cool. Well, congratulations on that. But how did you sort of get here? How did you get into Bravo and then reality TV? Secret Lives in particular, I feel to be your jam. So tell us your trajectory from there to here.
Yeah. So girl, let me tell you, I have always been a Bravo-holic. Okay. I mean, truly, I remember moving to Los Angeles from Oklahoma when I was 21 and being obsessed with, when Heather Dubrow had joined Orange County. I mean, it has, and I'm not going to say how many years ago that was if I was 21, but I have always loved Bravo. I remember when I was a broke actor, I just had my Apple TV and couldn't afford cable. I was working at a talent agency, and the days after Real Housewives of Atlanta would come on, I would go into the office early. So, because there was a TV with cable, and I would do my makeup at my desk, put on Atlanta. And even one year for Christmas, my husband had gotten me cable against just so I could watch Bravo as a gift. So it's always been that for me.
Yeah.
And I rarely had people that I could meet in the wild that were into Bravo. And it's such a massive fan base, but it's hard to meet people in the wild. And do you not notice when you randomly meet someone, they're like, oh yeah, I watch Bravo. You two immediately are rapid fire. You can't stop talking, and you have an instant bestie in that.
Exactly.
That's where the name Besties by Bravo was born. And that's what I had originally named my account, and my podcast is still named that, but it's about to be Besties by Caitlin, because I talk about more than just Bravo, and also don't want to get in trouble with the name. You never know. I mean, you can't get blood from a rock. So,
right.
Exactly. So, that there was all of that. And then Secret Lives came out, and it really felt like a combination of the early aughts of Vanderpump Rules and Orange County with more sophisticated HD lenses. And I just felt like it was wonderful because these women had never been in front of a camera in this capacity. They were comfortable in front of cameras, but we weren't all about how much money they had. And there was no big thing of the facade of glam and wearing labels. They were just being them.
Right.
And also, there is just this fascination with Mormonism if you didn't grow up around it and didn't know about it. So, you knew of it. But yeah, I just kind of was like, these girls are always having drama, and they give it to us free on the internet. So that's really how it got to that point.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I made a joke like way back when, like, Mormon's so hot right now, right? Because they really were, and not for the reasons you necessarily think, right? I feel like I'm learning a lot, right? Even just the things we learn about from Heather about how you are supposed to put your husband first before your children, and that's almost just a mentality. And without knowing that, without her giving us that knowledge, we wouldn't look at Brit the same way or Brittany the same way. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to think about
marriage part. It's the celestial marriage part that I can't get out of my head, that they do not believe that a woman can get into heaven if she doesn't have a celestially, that's a weird word to say, but ordained marriage.
Right.
And how, like, if they're sealed, which we did learn on this last season of Secret Lives, who you are sealed to in the eyes of the church, it's the belief that that's who will be part of your family in heaven for them. And imagining how difficult it must be for a lot of these people to be breaking that. And it gives us more insight into a lot of the women on Salt Lake City as well. And I think it's just fascinating. I mean, I grew up...
Exactly, fascinating.
I grew up in a very religious Christian household, like a non-denominational Christian household. I identify as spiritual now. It's just, whatever. But I know I was in LA for 10 years. There's so much I could say. But, it's so similar yet vastly different. And I think it's just fascinating to a lot of us, especially in the US, that it's not one of the overly culty type of religions, but if it's not something you grew up with, it feels that way. It's just fascinating.
And it's fascinating how they'll find these loopholes, like the ketamine and just different things, where they'll find ways to do things that seem against their main tenets, but technically, if it's not in, what do they call it again? The Book of
Mormon. No?
Yeah. It's the Book of Mormon? I'm an idiot. Wow, Dana. Okay.
No, not at all. But
like the book
you know what else cracks me up is that they can't poison their bodies with hot coffee or alcohol, but Botox, honey, shoot me up.
Right.
That I can agree with, but I'm not giving up my coffee.
But I only think it's because it's not in the Book of Mormon because it was created before Botox was. So it's like, well, it wasn't updated, right? Like they don't have the 2025 version. They didn't insert that in there. So technically.
Yeah, it's a software update.
Honestly. Well, let's get into our topics today. We might as well start with the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So we did hear that we're getting a reunion hosted by my arch nemesis, Nick Viall. Do you like him? Before I say that.
I have mixed feelings. I know a lot
We all
of people.
do.
Yeah, I know a lot of people can't stand him. I am not a Bachelor Nation girly, but I do remember back when he was the Bachelor and all of that. And I know he has said some problematic things. Tell me tell me about your arch nemesis.
I guess I'm
Where
mostly
what's
I'm
the villain origin
jealous.
story?
Well, just how did you get from there to here? In the sense of you were probably the most notoriously worst dater, if you think about it, right? You've been on The Bachelor 4 failed times. And then how did you become a dating and relationship expert to the point where you wrote a book about it, to the point where you have a podcast about it? I know it seems like he has a reality TV podcast, but his Monday episodes are actually dating and relationships.
Right.
And that's how it started out. So who made you
The authority.
When you were literally the most notoriously shittiest bachelor ever, right? So like who fails at The Bachelor that many times? So it became like a running joke. So how did that happen? And then it sort of becomes he gets every interview under the sun no matter what. And it's just, so for other podcasters, I mean, like not like I would ever get anyone on my podcast that was on his level, but it's still sort of like, oh man, well, manifest.
Never speak that out.
Well, that did happen. That did happen. Carl Radke said he would do my podcast, and then
girl, that's huge.
Then didn't, and all of a sudden he's on the Viall Files, right? So it was right before that. Right?
Hey, I think what I will say is I think a lot of people, men get easily elevated by the person they're in a relationship with, and I think Natalie elevates him significantly, but I think I see what you're saying, because this is something that does really irk me. When people have been in therapy, and therapy has done wonders for them, they suddenly feel that they're therapized enough to be a therapist, and they are not.
That is a common critique that he does get, right? Like even Sandoval, to promote Sandoval in any way, but I think it was something Sandoval said about ever going on the Viall Files. Like people had told him he's going to try to be Dr. Phil or Dr. Drew or whatever. He's going to try to tell you what to do. And that is what he does, right? He does sort of sit there. Even, do you remember the episode he did with Dakota a couple weeks back?
Yes.
It's very much like, tell me what to do, man. Tell me what to do. And it's like, why is Nick the one, right?
No, and I think if maybe Nick could approach it from a, hey, let me talk to you as though I'm your big brother type of scenario, okay. Something that I've always been fascinated by, and I think that this is something a lot of people who enjoy reality TV are fascinated by, which is psychology, the way we say things to people. And
that is my show.
Yes. And I always encourage anyone I possibly can to read or listen to a book called The Like Switch. And it's by this guy named Jack Schaefer, who worked for the FBI and would turn people who were under informants for other countries, like for the KGB, things like that, into being informants for the US. And he would have to get them on his side. And what fascinates me, that I will say when watching reality TV, is that it also teaches us how to speak to people in a way to get a little bit more out of a conversation. And that's where I think a lot of us are kind of armchair quarterbacks for a lot of this. But we don't necessarily sit the person down and have them. So tell me about how you're feeling today.
Right.
It's, I do see what you're saying. That makes sense. Because I hear so many different versions of why people don't like him that I like to gather info like that.
So do I. And, I will say he is a good interviewer, and as someone who has interviewed people for many years and does it for a living, he definitely has a skill to it, because it is difficult. You do definitely have to start at the top, start broad, and then funnel your questions down to the most horrifying thing that you're going to ask them. But you need to really build that rapport at the beginning. And there's also something about, I don't know if there's a word for it, but it's really important to continue to ask the same question in many different ways until you get an answer. Because I find that a lot of times you ask someone a question, they give you an answer, and it's not an answer to the question that you asked. So then you really do, if you really need it for interview purposes, like, my example last week was with Sandoval, where it's like, Nick Viall said, what do you mean not cheat again that way? Or not cheat that way again? What do you mean by that? Right? You could have just let him answer the question, but no, you pressed him. What do you mean not cheat that way again?
See,
So
I'm learning
that's a
from you.
skill. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm learning from you. I think it's fascinating. I imagine that's how it. See, my brain starts going. I imagine that's how producers get what they get out of
Mhm. Mhm.
our reality stars in their confessionals. And
I'm sure we
what I
don't see a
do
lot of that. I'm sure it's a lot more
right.
questioning, not just one question, one answer.
Exactly, exactly, absolutely. What I do hope is that he will really take those skills and translate that to the reunion, but we're not getting to me, the one person we need a lot of answers from.
Right. So she has come out now to explain why she's not there. So she did like an Instagram story that she's calling
Oh,
Factor Cap, and Cap, I guess, is
kids
the
these
lie.
days.
I know, yeah. I can't keep up with the lingo, girl. But basically, she said that she had this whole trip planned to go to Disney with her family. It could not be rescheduled. She wanted to be there, but she was definitely invited. Now, Nick Viall did confirm this, that she was invited, and he gave some mysterious cryptic way of saying that she will be there in some capacity. So I don't know, or she will be addressed in some capacity. So I don't know if that means she's going to be on video or she's going to appear in a TikTok. But what's interesting though is apparently this Walt Disney trip was like planned by Hulu and everybody got one. Did you hear about that? Like it wasn't
I
just, oh,
did
me and my family were
not.
going. It was all the girls were given trips to book whenever they wanted.
Okay, so I have a few thoughts then.
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds as though she must have signed because I'm all about transparency. Whenever you do a brand deal, you do sign a contract that you're supposed to fulfill that. However, with it being because I don't know why I always forget Hulu is also Disney. I imagine
Oh, yes. I totally forgot.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, I keep forgetting. And I imagine that there was a contract that she selected these dates and that was part of it. However, because it is all under the parent company, now it may be under different marketing companies. That's a possibility. But I would imagine that she also signed a contract with Hulu to be present for something like this because we know, girl, we know if you have a reunion on Housewives or any of those shows and you don't show up, that means you are not coming back the next season.
Yeah.
So I find it odd. And, you know, I think she was, I don't believe for a second she couldn't have come back for one singular day. I understand wanting because from what I'm understanding here is that her mother is not doing well physically.
Oh,
From what I
I didn't know
understand,
that.
yes, there's been some health problems. I don't know to what extent because I don't like to dig into something unless someone says it very publicly. I'm not going to dig into that. But I understand that. If they are on this family trip, now how long is the trip? I don't know. But if you do have the money for certain things, could you not extend it by one day and come back for the one day? Because this is your core job. This is how you are doing these things.
Mhm.
Uh, maybe it's because I know we got to choose a lot of times family over work. To me, that baby, that's part of being a working mom. Would we have balked at a man leaving a family trip for one day for the entire trip? Yes, that would be an issue. But I think she should have come back to do it. She asked them, from what I understand, to move the entire date of the reunion.
Yeah.
And girl, come on. That's a little bit much. But I'm understanding to a certain extent. This isn't missing a shift. I don't know, at Abercrombie and Fitch. That's the first thing that came to my mind. But I think it was very convenient as well. I think several things could be true at the same time.
It just sucks for us because it really, a lot of the drama was centered around her. So to not have her there to answer for it, it just becomes like, what's the point of this reunion? You know what I mean?
Then she better have done a Zoom in because she could
Yeah.
absolutely do that.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for her not to try and do that. Her and Brett
Yeah.
could hop on that computer and go.
So I wonder if that's what he was implying, but I guess we'll
Must
see.
be. Must
All
be.
right. Well, we have a lot of topics today, so let's
Yes.
move on to our next one, which is Love is Blind. Now, I usually like to give a quick synopsis of what we're talking about before we give the information. So we're going to be talking about Lydia and Milton. So they are from season 5 of Love is Blind, and I think we're in what, season coming upon season 8. I'm not even sure. I can't even believe how many there have been, but that was like a weird season.
This was 2022.
2022. Only 2 couples
can give you
got
that.
married. Thank you.
Mhm.
And I think the drama was, so Lydia was like annoying, in my opinion, a little annoying, but she had a fiery Latina passion. And
Mhm.
Milton was much, much younger, probably like a decade younger, I want to say. And he sort of gave me the vibe that he found her annoying, but they got married. And yeah, the drama was that she was with someone else who was on the show, like
Mhm.
prior, and they had like sort of dated. And
Mhm.
there was like this whole thing where he was like trying to imply that she had gotten on the show to like try to match with him and date him. Remember that whole
Like
thing?
stalk him,
Yeah,
essentially.
stalk
Yes.
him onto Love is Blind. But yeah, it was a weird season because only 2 couples got married. There was them, but I don't know. At the end, I felt like they seemed pretty happy. Like, how did you feel about them as a couple at the time when they got married?
Okay, well, let me just be honest. I felt like she settled.
That's probably
And
true.
I didn't feel like she was I feel as though she was enjoying him, and I do believe she loved him,
Hmm.
especially after listening to her on AD's podcast. I it just didn't feel they weren't in the same places. And that has nothing to do with her being however many years older than him. That's totally fine. The girl can be older too, honey. But at the same time, it felt like she was realizing she ran out of time. We see this happen a lot on Love is Blind.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
and that it's like, well, better do it or not if I want to be
Yeah.
able to try and, and I think it's not necessarily always about wanting to stay on the show. It's also about, well, this is the only other shot I can think of to find my partner. And I think there was a panic there, and she went ahead and went for him.
I hate when they say that because I'm 41 and I look at them like they're so young. And I'm just like, you guys,
They
because
are.
sometimes like you see them cowering in the corner in those like women's rooms where they're like, I guess I'm just going to end up having to be an old maid and I guess I'm just going to have to settle. I'm like, girl, you're going to be fine. You're 26. It's fine. But anyways, they're
Yeah.
getting divorced. So on AD's podcast, What's the Reality? And I really love this podcast. It's a pretty good podcast.
Yeah.
We find out that, Lydia goes on and she tells her story, but the main point she wants to make going into it was that he wanted her to sign an NDA in exchange for a divorce. So I think that's why she's coming out with this podcast now to be like, nerd. But the highlights, I guess, from their marriage / divorce. Ugh, I hate when Zoom does that.
I know.
Look at that.
I hate that too. It does it to me.
So he wouldn't let her wear bikinis, basically, like not let her show off her body the way that she wanted to. When she was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which was something that she was trying to figure out for a long time, it sort of reminded me of Yolanda Hadid trying to figure out her Lyme disease. And basically, once she was diagnosed and she was looking to him for support, he was like, well, it's not a big deal. Just like exercise and eat better.
No,
And
that's
she's
not
like,
the
what
way
the
that
fuck?
works. It's very painful.
And then so she wants to take a leave of absence from her work to try to figure out her body, get better. And the way she phrased it, though, in the podcast was sort of strange. Did you notice that? She was like, I asked for a leave of absence. And AD had to clarify, sorry, did you ask your
Right.
work for the leave of absence or did you ask your husband, Milton, for the leave of absence? Do you see, you could definitely see
Yes.
that power dynamic just
Yes.
even now that they're divorcing. But regardless, she says, no, I asked him and he said no. For financial reasons, which I understand as a couple you would discuss.
You have to have the discussion, yeah.
But they're living in his parents' house and he's not paying her bills. And yeah, then this whole NDA thing. And then apparently a bajillion times during their marriage, there's been girls who have come forward saying he's been flirting with them and talking to them and saying he's not married and shit like that. So a whole dumpster fuck. One thing I want to say is the vibe I sort of got from this, it was very familiar to me from an ex-boyfriend that I had where I felt very lonely in that relationship. And what I took away from this is that she felt very lonely in that marriage. She didn't feel supported. Anything that was ever wrong with me, I remember my period being really, really late and crying. And we were at a baseball game, like we were playing on a softball team together. And I was sort of off crying and he goes, what's wrong? Are you dying? Like shit like that. And that just sort of reminds me of this, where it's like, I could only be crying if I'm dying, right? Not because I might be pregnant or something.
Which for some people might feel as though they are dying if they are discovering that or concerned about that.
I wasn't, guys, by the way. But you know what I'm saying? I just felt very like this sense from her that he acted as though he was better than her, always made her feel small, always put her down, and she felt just very lonely in that. So those were just sort of my takeaways. But what were your thoughts listening to her?
You know, listen, the the very first time I would have seen one of those messages between Milton and his little friend of his saying that he wanted to go F this other girl. The things I would have done to that man would have made Lorena Bobbitt, is that her name? That she would
Yes.
have gone, girl, I wish I'd thought of that because I would have I am very clear with all the besties in my community. I am psychotic and I am crazy as shit and I don't care. I am a
I
Scorpio.
love that.
Okay.
Me too.
And hey girl.
Crazy bitches.
What are your big three, by the way? Do you know?
What does that mean?
Oh my gosh, you got to see.
I'm not an astrology girly. I just know I'm a Scorpio.
It's fun.
Okay.
It's fun. You know, you take certain things with a grain of salt, but it's fun.
Okay.
So I am a Scorpio sun, a Sagittarius rising, and a Scorpio moon. And if any of the listeners know, they know that is fire and water, baby. But that being said, I mean, I can understand she got past the first one. Fine. But as soon as there was more, and then he's telling her to cover up more, then cover your goddamn eyes, Milton. Stop liking these other bikini pictures. I swear to God, I don't care. I'm crazy. I would have been like, give me your goddamn phone. And
Yeah.
I would have, it's just, I do agree with you completely about how it did seem as though she was feeling lonely. She made it clear that her biggest support system is not even here in the US, let alone there in Houston.
Yeah.
I love AD so much. Like I could see myself being good friends with that girl. She was so supportive and she was a great listener. I think that Milton felt as though he had some sort of upper hand with the fact that she was older than him. And we women have these biological clocks that I think is absolute bullshit. And the men should have the biological clocks, not us, because we have to do all the carrying and deal with the bleeding and all of that. It's not fair. Anyway, I'll talk to someone about that when I have a chance. But that being said, I feel as though he felt he had this upper hand and had all this time to just dick around and do whatever he wanted to.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of her for going ahead and saying, we're done. You tell me to sign an NDA? Oh, buddy. Okay.
I'll talk to anyone that'll listen.
Give me a microphone. I will stand on the corner of the street.
And we'll get fuck Milton tattooed across my forehead.
No, it'll be temporary because I wouldn't want anything to do with that man once I was done.
Fair enough.
But, I think it's good that she told her side of the story. We do know, yes, that is only her side of it. However, it sounds like he is just an immature man baby who needs to grow up. He could barely grow a mustache. So he needs some time. And he also needs some therapy. Okay. Sounds like she herself has been through so much in her life and she has done the therapeutic work. He needs to do the same. Sign that divorce paper, you asshole.
Yeah, I hope something because I do appreciate that even like his parents were on her side. That's kind of a nice feeling. And I feel sad for her though that she's losing them because you could tell that they were like second parents to her. But the fact that they were like, we're sorry for our son in so many words, like we know this wasn't you. Like I hope they at least encourage him to, look inward a little bit here because I don't know, like he wasn't ready for this. He shouldn't have put her through this. And it's just, it's a shady situation.
Yeah, it is. It is. But, I know she kind of drove some people nuts and she could be a lot. She's a talker. As someone who has been told that many times over in my life and then finally said, you know what, fuck all of you. I'm going to be as much as I want to be. I think that's great that she's leaning into it. That's something that you hear women told and you don't really hear men being told that they're too much. You maybe when they're younger, but they just will call it ADHD in boys. And I think it's fantastic that she is leaning into who she really is and saying, you know what, I'm too much for you. I'm going to be just right and just enough for someone else. So good on her. Be free, Lydia. You go, girl.
Love that for her. Okay, let's move into Love Island. And we don't really have news here, but there's just been so many episodes. So I'm just like curious your thoughts in general. Did you catch last night's episode? So we're recording this on Saturday. Did you catch Friday?
I sure did. I sure did.
So you're up to date with all the pancake drama.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank God. I was hoping I didn't have to explain it to you in detail.
No. Listen. What's funny is at first I was like, when Huda is sitting there telling Jeremiah, well, eat up. You're a man. You should eat more. Girl, oh my God. It was like, it was a mix of treating him like her toddler. And I have a toddler. So I
Right.
understand being like, well, why aren't you eating it? That's number one. Number two, it was almost like she was emasculating him at the same
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
And Huda, ooh, honey, I will go back and forth on her so much. I think she, the way she'll treat the bombshells coming in for doing their jobs as bombshells.
I signed a contract.
I
I'm
mean,
just doing my duty.
yes, baby girl, you will meet everyone, and then you are supposed to go make out in succession with two totally different people before you even know their last name. This is every single one of you does this. This is Love Island. This is what you signed up for. And
I
the
think
way
she's on
like
The Bachelor. What show do you think she thinks she's on?
honestly, I think she believes she's on some sort of alternate universe version of Love is Blind.
Ooh.
That feels a little bit more like she is so territorial. Girl, you were just making out with the two new bombshells, and then you're gonna be breaking your back doing Cirque du Soleil trying to get at who this new girl, Iris, who's making out with Jeremiah, telling her, bitch, you better stop it. Bitch, you should have said stop it whenever the other guys were making out with you. It's
Have to
very
say.
hypocritical.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to say Jeremiah is stunning, by the way. Just he's like stunning to look at. I've just never seen such a symmetrical man.
He's such a
wow.
commercial actor.
Yeah,
He's a
okay.
commercial model actor. Like if you noticed in his first interview, because I'm still a SAG-AFTRA actor. I still go out for things sometimes, but it's Denver SAG market is not huge. In his initial interview, every single frame you could see it looked like a commercial actor's headshot. I
Okay.
guarantee if
I'm
we
gonna keep
really
an eye.
that's something I should probably try and look up. We should look into it because I wonder who his agents what agency he's with, and I wonder if he's got to have some decent like commercial work. Toothpaste commercial, something, honey. He is gorgeous. I mean, almost too gorgeous.
Okay,
Like,
wait. So I guess for the listeners, Jeremiah and Huda are sort of
yes.
like the A1 day one couple, which you know what we do see in Bachelor in Paradise sometimes. I guess I do want to
Mhm.
say there is sometimes
Yeah.
that A1 day one couple like Tanner and Jade, and then they get married
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So, but that is
Yeah.
not this show, right? You're not following the proper rules. So she has a child, and so I think if I could be mistaken, but I feel like maybe the reason you go back and forth with her as well is because we want to root for her. She's a young mom, but she's
Yes.
doing it weird, right? And yes, she's emasculating him like you said. She's sort of trapping him like you said. But then there's this additional thing where she's literally just trying to create fights with him for no reason. Because now, like, if they were to break up right now and she were to explain to her mom why they broke up, and it's because he didn't make her more pancakes that were good and someone
hers
else
were
did,
undercooked.
and hers were undercooked, and then someone else stepped up, he stepped up. And so if Jeremiah doesn't step up, then he's not the man that she wanted, right? And that's just not the man that she could bring home to her daughter, right? Like that would be insane. So
It's hard because I get some of it. Because this is the thing. I'm like, I'm such a girl's girl. So on one hand, I get pissed at her when she's not being a girl's girl. That's my biggest thing. Like going after Alandria whenever she didn't like her tone. That to me, at the end of the day, and the way the internet reacted, it felt like a microaggression toward Alandria to me.
yeah.
And that's it, plain and simple. But it's like, I get that she sees all the other guys kind of trying to woo their women, right? But Jeremiah already has her. He has no concerns. And so she wants to feel as though he's working for it. But at the same time,
Okay, you're fucking wise. You're wise. I didn't see it that way at all. Okay, I didn't read between the lines.
That's what
She
it
wants
is.
him to fight for her.
Yes, but he
Okay.
has her. So to him,
I
he's
see.
like, why? He's like, you feel stable. We're secure. Why do I have to be doing all of this? So I get like, men, their brains. Straight men, I can't explain their brains. I don't think anyone can. I mean, his frontal lobe's barely fully developed. Is he even 25 yet? But that being
I
said,
love the frontal lobe theory, by the way, which I learned through the
I mean,
Mormons.
It is true. The frontal lobe, it's not developed. So he's not totally there yet. And for him, his brain's going, what? I'm hanging out with you. What do you mean? And because he's a young male.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're not doing all these things for me. But he goes, I'm making you breakfast almost every day, because that's the trope. You know, I've watched every single season of UK except for the last one, because I was like, USA is better now. So that's how it started, was over there. The guys make the girls breakfast. And I love that. But if you wanted to do something nice for him and he didn't like it, the breakfast, but he's still trying to like eat it, let it the fuck go and ask him, how do you like your pancakes, babe? I'm sorry. Make a joke of it.
She's taking it way too seriously. Yeah, it's a lot already.
She thinks this is Marriage Island.
And someone made a good point, I forget where, somewhere online, that she forgets that winning this thing is all about the audience's perception. So people hate them as a couple, so they're not winning in that sense, you know? And that was something he whispered under his breath at one point anyway.
Yeah, I think he's scared of her.
Fair enough. And should be. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about Ace? Because I really, you do?
I do. I can't.
Okay, why?
Okay. So when I discovered that he is the Ace Green who will hold these live streams that he will teach people with Down syndrome how to dance, and women who are domestic violence survivors, elderly people, like a group of elderly women in Thailand, people who are having a rough Christmas. And it's things that are like that I'm like, people who are wheelchair bound, and he'll teach them a dance. And there are some people, I made a video about this on TikTok, and some people were like, well, you know, he's profiting off of these people with disabilities. Is he, or is he giving them visibility and showing these people are humans? They are like you and I. There might be a difference, but they're like you and I. Also, and this is a comment, I can't take credit for it, because once I saw it, I was like, this is so true. He is 90s boy band fine, okay?
That is now, yes, but all of the men have that sort of vibe. I'm like, what is it about this cast? Right. I'm like, what is this? That's what it is. Thank you for defining it for me.
Yes,
90s and boy band.
And okay, I went back and forth about what he pulled with Amaya whenever it was like him setting this boundary. And I had to stop myself, because I can be such an intense feminist sometimes that I'm like, well, I need to also ask myself, if roles are reversed, how would this be perceived? If Amaya had set those physical boundaries with him and said, I don't want you to call me babe, we would have, and he reacted that way, we would have been like, you fucking asshole. So at the same time, I think that's just kind of her personality, but he was trying to set these boundaries, but also it made us all go, then why the hell did you couple up with her? And I want to know your thoughts on why. Because I will say, I think what he believed, he and Shelley, they've got that invisible string, aside from them just being such a gorgeous couple.
Yes, I love Shelley.
Yes.
Can't you see her being a host in the future, by the way? I feel like she has like star power.
She does. I mean, her and Delandria, I'm like obsessed with them. I'm obsessed with them. You know, I think that he knew Shelley wasn't going anywhere, but he also, I think, knew Amaya could get dumped, and he just wanted to see what could happen there.
Yeah.
And that's what I think happened, but I want to know your thoughts.
Well, I just didn't I'm an intense feminist as well. And, you know, I definitely put myself in those shoes. But the way he did it was like from the jump, very standoffish. Like, I'm going to put in this boundary as if you've already done something. And it was just like,
that's a great point.
An immediate, you know, just very, okay, I've picked you for whatever reason and not because I'm into you. It was very like, hi, I'm picking you, and whoa, step away from me. So that was strange. And just from there forth, it was very rude, just the way he was doing it. It sort of was to the point where it's like, and then do you want me to feed you some grapes as well, sir? Right? Like, what else do you need? He just needed so much, and it was in a very like rude and standoffish way, and it gave me no impression that he had any interest in her whatsoever. So it just then she took it too far, and then she became the more annoying one, and unfortunately, but I just didn't see why he had so much almost animosity to her at the jump, you know? Because
I hear you on that. No, I hear you on that. You're right, because it did feel out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So thank you for making that point, because the saying that it's almost as if she'd already done something.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was that immediate buyer's remorse too. And instead of just kind of
Awful.
going, yeah, I mean, and putting myself in her shoes, I would have been like, oh my God, let me just crawl through the first layer of the earth. This is so embarrassing. Yeah, that's tough. I hear you on that. I do.
Yeah, I just don't think he just needed to be so, I don't know, mean to her about it, I guess.
The delivery too.
Yeah, the delivery.
I hear that.
But yeah, definitely those two were not meant to be. And then who was he with last night? Iris? He seemed to really like Iris.
Yes.
She was, I think, a new Bombshell, right? Did
Yeah.
they end up together last night? It's so hard for me to remember all the names of people.
Yes, it's a lot of names. I think, I don't know. See, I like Nick and Sierra together, but I'll tell you who I voted for. I'll give you this. So, you know, I voted because I don't remember them ever doing this. Often, of course, it's just been a year, so who knows? Anyway, for who should be swapped with the new Bombshells, I voted literally for Nick to go with Iris, and I voted for Sierra to go with Pepe. And I can't, the way Ian Sterling, our narrator, says, Pepe.
That guy.
I can't get it out of my head. I'm like, Caitlin, don't try and talk like him. You know, even though he had that whole moment with Hannah, and I felt so bad for Charlie, but that's who I kind of want to see the switch up. I don't, maybe because I am so biased and want Shelly and Ace. There's like this calmness when they're interacting, and Shelly meets him where he's at. And
Ooh,
I
I
feel
love
like,
that.
you know, and I feel as though Ace doesn't, because Shelly, you know, she is that girl. She walks down the street and everyone's head turns. It's impossible not to. And so I think he kind of grounds her. And I love them together. But did you notice this? I saw this on Reddit, and then I made a post about this the other day. Amaya, when she and Shelly were having just their little back and forth for a second,
I know what you're going to say. Say
Amaya said she knew Shelly outside of the villa, and they do follow each other.
I heard it. So she's basically being like, because we're friends outside of this, we know each other outside of this, I feel even more betrayed by you. And how come we're not talking about this? Even as content creators, I'm like, am I the only one who heard this? And I thought I misheard it because I didn't see it anywhere. Have you been talking about it? I talked
about it.
Oh, did you?
I talked about it. Yeah, no.
Sorry.
And, you know, no, you're fine. I did. And I'm surprised, you know, like just as we were discussing, the number of views on things, it's like Monopoly money. It matters only in that world. But I've still been surprised that, I mean, maybe like 1,000 people saw it and I didn't really see many people comment on it. I'm like, did no one get this? Because
that's tea.
Remember, Bombshells know who's paired up, and they've seen who's in the villa before they come in. So isn't it even more odd that Amaya was like, okay, I'll go for Jeremiah, even though there's that whole thing with him. The whole thing's bizarre.
Mic drop.
And someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty certain, don't they say things like, I don't care if so-and-so's hooked up with so-and-so. This is who I'm going for. I could be wrong on that, but I'm fairly certain. I've been wrong before in my life, as much as I don't like to admit that. But I think she knew they were paired up.
Yeah. We need to get some more on that. Maybe they need to be doing more after suns, like an after sun. Oh my God. Okay, basically, let's move this all up for us millennials. Let's move this all up to like 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 9. And then let's have an after show from 9 to 9:30. I could live with that. I could. Yeah. I could. Okay. But it would have to be after each one because I want to hear what they knew behind the scenes. That would be like a great after show. And I just want to mention Belle Dasha because like she's already gone too soon, but she was on the Viall Files and she was just actually so cute. And I just really enjoyed her personality. And I think she's going to be on After Sun either tonight or tomorrow. Oh my God, the Zoom.
I know. They love to give a thumbs up.
So I hope maybe she comes back as a bombshell or she comes back in some way because she did have a pretty fun personality. So, you know, I think it would be fun to have her back.
Tried to come out of her shell.
Yeah.
I was proud of her for trying to come out of her shell. Although, you know, she is like that incel alt-right personification of what they expect women to be. But I don't think that's what she was trying to be. I just was very much like, dude, she went ahead and went for it. She tried. You know, it's okay if it didn't work out with Nick, but I mean, have you seen Nick's ex-girlfriend, by the way?
No.
Bella, it looks like
Really?
identical to her. Yes.
Crazy. Oh, that's interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
you're the
So
best at getting all the backstories on these people.
I'm just nosy.
Just
Very nosy.
okay, let's move on to the traders. And we actually got a
Yes.
cast for season 4.
I'm so
Okay, so
excited.
let's go through the cast. It's such an odd ball pairing of people, starting with Donna Kelsey, which I guess is Travis Kelsey's mom. Okay, what are your thoughts on that one?
They better immediately make her a traitor because she's just so
Yeah.
cute and sweet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think I say that in the sense that I don't think she is traitor material, which is why they have to make her a traitor. She just
Right.
seems
That's
like
not
such
even
a
an
sweet
insult,
mom.
by the way. Yeah, if we say
No.
that someone maybe isn't fit for this, we mean them no.
Yeah.
we mean that they're living a very full life is what we mean.
They seem so kind and precious. Like if I'm immediately calling someone a traitor, yeah.
It's crazy.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay, and then we got Portia Williams, so Real Housewives of Atlanta. I think it's a great pick.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think she would do well as a traitor. I think she's good at keeping secrets. I think she's good at distracting.
Yes.
I think there's a lot there.
I
a
love
good one.
Portia.
Caroline Stanbury, who is from The Real Housewives of Dubai, right? And she was also in Ladies of London. I don't really know her personality. I know she's with a young husband. I know she's had a lot of plastic surgery. She's had a bunch of kids. That's all I know about her, I guess. And I guess she's high fashion.
Yeah, I couldn't get into Dubai. I tried so very hard. I swear to y'all I did. I just couldn't get into it. So I remember Ladies of London, but gosh, that was a long time ago. Very long time ago that was on.
Maybe she'd be too prissy for this, like too fancy for it.
I don't know. I think we'll just see. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of thoughts on her. I think she's a good pick. That's what I'll say.
She could be a good pick in the sense that maybe she's sort of a mystery, right? Because none of us really know a lot about her. Candace Dillard Bassett, who we haven't seen in a while because she's no longer on Potomac. So I love this. But
I love Candace.
Let's keep in mind, we have not seen her on TV since she's become a mom, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see. I mean, triangle or not, I think this could be really fun and interesting in a way where I think she'll bring a lot of the drama. Not intentionally, of course, right? There'll be a lot of drama. Drag me, Monique.
Yes. I love Candace. I love a Candace Dillard Bassett read more than I can explain to you. She makes me cackle. And I know so many people are like, Candace is a brat. I don't like her. No, that is mother. Leave Candace alone. I love her so much.
Wait, I just had a thought. Is she sort of like the Sheena Shea of Potomac?
No, I would
annoying, the crier, Stacey, but has to be there,
Stacey is the Sheena Shea of Potomac.
But still I rise.
Yes. Girl, please.
The delusion. Love it. Okay, sorry, let's move on. Okay, Lisa Rinna. Excellent pick. Amazing pick.
Excellent.
Amazing.
No matter how anyone feels about
To
her.
clarify, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. No words, the most vicious, right? I mean, I don't even need to explain, right? She's super devious, she's cunning, it'll be amazing. Dorinda Medley, and I guess maybe they're bringing her back because she was on last season and she was gone in one episode, I feel like, maybe 2? So do you feel like that's maybe why?
Listen, Dorinda cracks me up.
Yeah.
Just hearing her go in on someone at a round table, we didn't get much of it. And this is why I think you're a traitor. I need a little bit more Dorinda. I've missed her. I'm good
I'll
with
take
it.
her in anything, pretty much.
Yeah.
Then we have some Big Brother people: Ian Terry, Tiffany Mitchell, Survivor, Rob Sestorino. Now, that name rings a bell to me. Which Rob is this?
Oh, Jesus.
Because this isn't Boston Rob that we just had, right?
Oh, let me see. Let me do a little.
Because when there's a big podcast that's called Wrap Up.
No.
RHAP. Rob has a podcast. And
this
all
is
of those
Rob.
people are saying it's their boss, Rob, from the podcast. It's not.
Yeah, this is not Boston Rob. No.
Okay. But this guy is from Survivor.
Yes,
All
correct.
right. And then Natalie Anderson, Yamil Araujo. I mean, we don't know these people now. Maybe you do, but I've never been a
No.
Big Brother or Survivor person. But these people will become people we know because these are the people that are the most skilled and end up making it to the end, if not close to the end.
Yes.
And then we have Love Island. We've got Rob from Love Island. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Roche. You know
Rosh,
Rob.
maybe.
Overall,
Yeah.
Rob. So that's a great pick. And Aaron was actually the winner of the Traders UK
Yes.
season 1 or 2, I believe. So
Yeah.
it's not crazy to put him on it. I think that's like a great pick.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll make it very far. Actually, he has like a Sandoval-esque to him.
He does. He really does. You're so right. He does.
In this environment. Oh my God, he is going to show up in overalls, isn't he? Don't you think?
He is.
Ew.
Ugh.
Okay. And then Maura
Shirtless in
Higgins.
overalls. Maura, fanny
Love.
flutters.
Love
Love her. Mhm.
Now, Colton Underwood from The Bachelor. Now, he is polarizing. How do you feel about him? What do you know about him?
Yeah, good for him for going ahead and coming out. I can't imagine going through the entirety of being on a heterosexual bachelor and trying to present as straight for that long and then having to go ahead and publicly come out, because from what I understand, he was getting blackmailed over it and things like that. And that breaks my heart. So that aspect, great. I hate what he put his fiance through. I can't remember her name, but
Cassie, I think.
Yes.
Cassie.
I hate what he put her through. And isn't he's a dad now?
Oh, right. He's married to a man, and yeah, he's a dad now. And so
I think he's going to be a great addition. I'm going to be watching.
Bachelor people are sort of teddy bears in these situations. I feel like they're sort of at a place, like they're sort of, what's his name? Pilot Pete did make it pretty far, and they do know how to build alliances and friendships. They're definitely used to doing that, but they're not game players in any sense. So, but then again, Colton was literally a football player, a game player.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? Okay, he may get further than we think. Top Chef, Kristen Kish. I don't really know her. Eric Nam, a singer-songwriter. I don't know him either. Dancing with the Stars, Mark Ballas. I don't watch that, except the season with Ariana.
I think, he's one of the dancers. Yeah. I think it's Viall. Why do I want to say it's Viall? I don't know. Now I can't remember. But yes, I can't picture him.
Yeah, I can't.
But I recognize the name.
Yeah. Okay.
What am I saying?
Now, Michael Rappaport was on there, and I was excited because I thought he was so funny. And then I just heard today that he's racist, and I didn't know this. So, do you know?
Yeah, yeah.
What's he racist about? What happened?
To Kenya, because Kenya read him down on Watch What Happens Live many years ago.
Oh.
And because Michael, I don't know, he loves Bravo. He loves all that stuff. And I have a bone to pick with a lot of the Bravo audience. Just because there is a straight man who enjoys watching Bravo does not mean they are great people. Okay?
Totally.
You know what I'm saying, though? They tend to be elevated to certain statuses they don't deserve to be elevated to.
Fair enough.
The girls, the gays, the theys, we've all been here all this time.
I love that.
Okay? So I'm not saying every straight man, who rises up and loves Bravo, there's an issue with, but let's not pander to them so much. Now, is Michael funny? Yes. However, he did post to his Instagram stories from what I saw. I'm going to say allegedly because I didn't see it directly from his account that day. Okay. It was a photo of him with Kenya on Watch What Happens Live. Again, this was many years ago. And the next slide was of what looked to be like King Kong, like raging.
Oh my God.
And that is disgusting.
Oh my God.
Now, that's what I quite literally feel like I saw this yesterday or today. And I can't say it's verifiably from his account, because if I didn't see it from my own eyes, like I hit Michael Rappaport's account, saw it with my own eyes. So we have to say allegedly along with that, because, but that's beyond.
Yeah.
And Kenya did not like him when they were on that episode together at all. And, he was being obnoxious to her, from what I recall. I haven't seen that episode in a long time. So
do you know if he ever apologized?
I'm not certain. No, that's like I said, that is just what I happened upon. And it pissed me off so much. You know how sometimes, sometimes you'll see something and you're like, I don't even want to give my brain energy to this right this second. Let me come back to it. Because there's so many other things happening in our world. And yes, this is our escapism, and it doesn't mean we don't care about the other things. But I was just like, I can't. No, please. I have too many other things to be angry about today. Let me check on this again later, and I'll be angry still. But deplorable if that is actually from his account.
And if it's true, I could see them pulling him from the list. I mean, we got preliminary lists before. Nothing is like confirmed. I mean, we could get a list tomorrow and another one the next day. Things change in the matter of minutes, Lindsay Hubbard and all of that, right? So things can happen and you never know. So maybe because of this, they'll just decide, hey, this isn't worth our time, and pull him and replace him with somebody else. You never know.
You know who would be pretty funny on here, even though I've gone back and forth on him. Put in Jesse Solomon, or go ahead and put in West. I think it would be funny to see. West actually would be really funny to see trying to keep up with everyone. He would just be sitting there going, I think he would actually be a pretty funny addition, because I hate admitting this, but West is funny. He's a funny guy.
He is.
He would be a great.
No, you aren't wrong. Okay, and then we have 2 Olympic figure skaters, Johnny Weir and Tara Lipinski, which I remember from back in like the day, like the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
RuPaul Drag Race alum Monet Exchange. I don't know who that is. Do you?
I used to watch Drag Race religiously. And then when they switched, I think it was from Logo to VH1, I found it harder to keep up with. So I'm not sure off the top of my head. I bet I would if I saw their face.
Okay. And then we've got Stephen Coletti from Laguna Beach. So that's interesting.
Yeah,
they've ever had someone like that before.
I know. And it's funny because I have the press email from NBC here, and they listed him as being from One Tree Hill.
Was he? That's bizarre. Okay.
I'm like, in my head, I know who Stephen Coletti is.
I'm just like,
so
do
I
they?
had to Google, but he was on One Tree Hill, I suppose.
All right. And then just a comedian, Ron Funches as well. So, pretty decent. I like our Bravo selection. I really do wish we had gotten Lindsay Hubbard, but given the timing, it's just like, she literally just had a baby. Maybe next year. But is there anyone that you are super excited about that's on this list? Is there anyone that you're very upset about that you really wanted on here, that you really thought was going to be on here and they just weren't, and you just like can't get it out of your mind?
If that all is verified with Michael Rappaport, he needs to be pulled. But
right.
I am thrilled about Maura. I am thrilled about Candace. I hope those two just like buddy up. That is my biggest hope there, and I'm excited about Portia.
Yeah,
and Lisa. I mean, I know a lot of us are still upset with Lisa Brenna, but I think
she's perfect. Yeah, for this.
Yes.
It's like with Sandoval, where we hate him, of course. Well, we always hate him, of course. But is he good for this kind of shit? Yeah. He's going to be on House of Villains. Of course he's going to be on House of Villains. He's our number one villain in Bravo. Of course we have to put him on House of Villains.
And America's Got Talent.
Not to.
Yeah,
no, not there.
He's auditioning for that.
Well, let him audition and let people tell him he's bad. Come on, guys. He has no talent, okay? He has no talent. That's fine.
I mean,
except as a villain.
Yes. Well, yeah. I'm just kind of over Sandoval. I'm like, yeah, we've hammered down on him. Like, whatever.
We're done.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some much pettier drama. So let's get into the Real Housewives of Miami. And we did get our premiere this week, which was really, really good. But of course, there's always like online drama that comes out of it. So did you get a chance, first of all, to watch the premiere episode?
I did. Yes.
Okay. Did you like it? Yeah.
I did. It felt a little disjointed the way it opened. I was like, okay. It was very much like, okay, so this is what's been happening and what right day now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, okay. All right. Okay. I'm a little confused by Alexia and Todd, but all right.
I need a lot more information. A lot more information.
Yes. Alexia is truly the Latina version of Teresa.
Oh my God. Yes. And the fact that they found each other.
They're perfect for each other. Yes, they are. Absolutely. Absolutely. Larsa Pippen pisses me off to no end. I'm all about that. There are the people on these shows that we love to hate. And I'm all for, like, I can truly appreciate villains. I think Larsa is a horrible person. I cannot stand her. And she's one of the very few Bravo Lebs I would ever be able to say that about. I truly. And at the same time, it's kind of annoying because I can see some of her points when it came to that issue with her and Lisa.
Yeah.
Because Lisa does strike me as the type that she's not picking up the phone to see how you're doing. She's expecting you to call her and see how she's doing, and then she'll ask you.
Yeah.
After she talks ad nauseum for an hour.
I feel like I talked about it a bit in my recap episode where I feel like she almost has this Kardashian-esque about her where she expects people to react in that way where we're very quiet, we keep things under the wraps, don't talk to anyone that's not part of our circle anymore. Like,
Larsa does, you mean?
Yeah, and
Larsa she morphed into one of them.
Right.
She even talks like them.
And she expects other people to just follow suit and just do what the Kardashians would do, and Lisa's not doing that, right? Like the Kardashians would not go and hang out with someone in their friend circle's ex, right? So I think she's just sort of expecting that like weird courtesy. That,
she didn't get the memo.
Right? Okay, well, so we got in this weird fight. Oh my gosh, this whole thing is confusing. So Julia and her partner Martina are blessed enough to get to adopt these 2 babies. They want to do it privately. Then they want to tell just the Miami ladies on a Zoom. Gertie can't get into the call. She gets dropped from the call. That's the information we get in the episode. So she doesn't get the information. And therefore, when she found it out, I guess, via the news, all she ended up saying to Julia via text was congrats, which Julia thought was rude and had no heart. So there's like this whole text exchange that we got to see online now that basically says between Julia and Gertie saying, hi, are you sending me a new link? Never worked. I tried it 3 times. And Julia says, hi, sorry, my friend. I don't know what went wrong. We only had one link that everybody stayed on. Sorry you couldn't get in. I had something amazing to tell you guys at the same time. Now it's out and has been publicly announced. What was the seconds in advance? Talk to you soon. Hope you're feeling better. And after your surgery, we'll recover fast. And then Gertie said, oh, okay, so I guess I'll look online for this announcement. Okay. And then Julia said, you'll understand when you read. My hands are full right now, so I'm dictating this message, but we'll talk to you soon. And then we see the congrats message from Gertie. So, I mean, Julia did clarify in the episode when she meant she had her hands full. She's got like babies and poop and goats and all these things. But I don't understand it. There's a very clear miscommunication here.
Yes.
So I don't see why this drama was created. And that's exactly what Dr. Nicole has come out and said, like, immediately after the fact. So she's already commented on this bullshit and said, this is the type of petty nonsense that makes being in this friend group too stressful. Everything gets exaggerated and taken out of context for the sake of making a scene. Sorry, Gertie has to go through this nonsense. And then Gertie said, I love you. You know the entire truth and nothing but the truth. I'll just be chilling here with my long ass receipts as the slander attempts begin. And it's like, yeah, this is ridiculous, right? Like this is all we have here, guys.
This is a miscommunication, and I feel I like Gertie a lot. I know she can be a lot herself, but I like her a lot, and I love Julia. I think I don't think it was totally fair of Julia to be like, well, you're just gonna have to find out with everyone else. She could have just said, okay, I really wanted it to be a fun reveal, but she could have dictated into the phone. We adopted 2 boys. Yeah. I'm so excited. I have my hands full. Sorry you couldn't get in the Zoom. Let's talk later.
Right.
Simple as that. And, Gertie, it is what it is. It's a miscommunication. I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Which is our typical Housewives trope. So,
of course,
we're here to analyze it. So we're here.
Yes, I know. There's plenty of other things, I think. I just, Gertie's been through so much in the last few years. I think that's why I'm so like, ugh.
Yeah. Can we not,
And Julia's backstory is the most devastating thing I think it's just devastating. And so I feel like when you take into account both of what they've been through, I'm like, I don't want them fighting. Does that make sense? Like, I just don't. And I do believe that when it comes to Housewives, especially, the drama is in the resolution. And I really hope they find a resolution quickly because I don't want to see them fighting over this There's
completely
too much
agree.
history in excuse me, I'm so sorry. There's too much history in their lives individually for this to be like an issue for the two of them, I feel like. Does that make sense?
100%, 100%. So I don't know what it is with our fandom and being obsessed with cocaine and thinking that every Bravo Love is on cocaine. But there was one part of the episode where Lisa's boyfriend Jody was like,
Yeah.
"Where's the AC? Oh, it's here in my room," which is weird. Like, what do you mean? It's just in one room? Because you live in Miami, you think it would be hot. But anyways, so everyone online was like, AC must mean cocaine. So then Lisa had to come out
Right.
online and said, "I can't believe I have to address such ridiculous rumors, but last night's Real Housewives of Miami episode is a gross misrepresentation of what actually happened
Yeah.
and manipulated editing. Jody and our non-cast friends were hanging out in our primary suite and lounge area, which we use as a common space. Oh, okay. With friends and families. They were not crowded in some solitary bathroom. Our friends did not want to be filmed, so they sought out privacy in a hangout spot. Any implication beyond that reality is completely false and upsetting. And for the record, AC equals air conditioning, something essential in Miami."
You know,
They're not all on cocaine. And pasta
No.
never meant cocaine. Do you know how many episodes Lala has had to do? Not that I want to praise Lala in any sense, but how many episodes she's had to do to answer that question that it never meant cocaine?
I don't know that we will ever know for certain. I don't know. It could really
They were
just
doing
be
it out
pasta.
there. It was all over their faces. They weren't hiding
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. See, and you start talking about it, and I certainly don't do that. But now, as soon as you mentioned the word, my nose started itching as if. So I'm now like, great. People watching the video are going to be like, why is she automatically itching her nose? But now it's allergies. Excuse me. Trust me, I am only naturally this annoying.
I love you.
I think it's because of all the stuff with Marcus, Jordan, everything surrounding that. And if he was hanging around some of the friends, which it doesn't even sound like he was actually hanging around with them. Was it weird about the AC? Yes. But do I think he was like, I want to go talk to you about something and turn my mic off in my room? Yes. That's what I think it was. So
Fair
it
enough.
came off secretive for that.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Ridiculous. And yeah, if this is the drama that we're getting this season, I mean, it's fine. Like I said, I think it's fine because we have the Valley as a compliment where people are so concerned about how dark it is right now that
Yeah.
this is so light, which maybe if we didn't have such levity, maybe if we didn't have such darkness, we wouldn't appreciate how much levity this has because this is really just such silly drama. But I
Yeah,
kind of
we
don't
need
mind
that,
it
though.
right now as the compliment to the very, very deep darkness of Jax faking a heart attack and shit like that. For
Absolutely agree.
Okay.
Sometimes we need the silly pettiness.
Yes.
You
Oh,
know?
I did add one topic and it's super quick, but it is
Yeah.
Jax related, but more so it's the Valley, and that is
Yeah.
Kristen Doute had her baby. So exciting. So her name is
Congratulations.
Kaya Lily Broderick. I
Love
believe.
it.
Yes, that is a
Love
really
it.
beautiful name. She didn't do
Yes.
something crazy that you'll never be able to spell
Right.
or that you'll never be able to say. Kaya Lily. I think that's so beautiful.
Our baby Mariposa.
Exactly. I was just gonna
Congratulations
say.
to them. That's so exciting.
So many people in the comments were like, "I'm so sad it's not Mariposa."
I know. I know. Mariposa. No, I love it. That can be her little nickname.
I don't know how you felt about them as a couple initially. Like, I rooted for her all the way, but I feel like initially people were like, I don't know about this guy. He seems like so different from her, and the whole thing with them living so far apart and him never wanting to now be in LA. But there was something he said in an episode, maybe like 5 episodes back, where they were doing that like prayer circle thingy. He said something like, I don't have family here, and that's why I want to create family. I want to build family. And I was like, oh my God, I never really thought about it that way. He wasn't looking at LA anymore as a negative. He's like, all right, well, I'm alone here, so I will build my army, right? In a good way.
Yeah. No, I think Luke is fantastic. He clocks everything. He's learning how. Kristen's definitely been coaching him on how to become a reality TV star.
Yeah.
I think he's doing great. I really do. I think that he's just truly the prime example of what would happen if a normal, sane person got thrust into the world of reality TV and didn't apply for a show, just went, all right, fine, I guess I'll do it, because that's not usually the way it goes, right?
Yeah.
And didn't have to go through a casting process, anything like that. So at first I was like, I'm not sure what the dynamic is here, but I think they're perfect together.
They
I
are.
think Yeah, it's another situation where he really grounds her. And
Yes.
listen, I love Kristen. She's really had a lot of growth, I think. And also just enough that she didn't grow out of with some of the pettiness because
Yeah.
we still need our Doute to be,
Little
throw in a few
messy.
doozies.
Right.
Yes. But yeah, I think they're a fantastic couple.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect.
And I think she's just going to be such an amazing mom. I have no doubt
Oh
at
yeah.
all. Like, even just the little bits we see of her with Cruz or with the other babies in the
Yeah.
group, I just think it was definitely her calling to be a mom. And I'm just so happy that
Absolutely.
she gets to fulfill that. And it's so funny as we watch these reality stars over time, because we watch them over a decade, and you almost feel, in our parasocial way where we
Yes.
see them grow and we see them change. And we do tear up when we see them finally, you did it. You did it, Kristen. You
Yes.
crossed that finish line. You got there, girl, man.
Did it, girl.
Keep
Now
going,
let's
girl.
get you
Keep
in that white
going.
dress.
But she doesn't even
You,
care because she just has her happiness, and I think that's great.
yes. I truly it, because I'm around the almost exact same ages as, like Stassi, and Sheena's a little bit older than me, but and Brittany. And I literally had my child the same year that these girls were having
Oh,
their
yeah.
babies. And so I was like, I swear I'm not that psychotic that I'm like trying to do it at the same time as them.
Wait, but
But
I didn't see you in any of their group pics.
I know,
They
God, they
didn't
forgot to
invite
invite me. COVID and all. But no, I mean, it really was like it just happened to be around that same time. And so, I feel like for Kristen, I'm glad it's her time and she's
Yeah.
gonna. I am just so jealous though of any teacher that gets to have Kristen Doute in a parent teacher conference.
Oh my
Because can you
God.
imagine?
Oh my God. I need cameras in Indiana camera for that.
Andy
Oh my
and a camera.
God. Oh my God, that's
Can
so
you
exciting.
imagine?
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I would die.
Okay, let's move into the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And I'm sure you heard this story like a week or two ago that Jesse Solomon and Erica Jane hooked up. And everybody was just sort of like, haha, that's funny. Totally believed it, even down to like Amanda Batula on Watch What Happens Live. She's like, yeah, I'm sure it did. It just was sort of a given because you just looked at the two of them and you're like, yeah, makes sense. But now
Mhm.
she's come out on her podcast that she does with Teddy sometimes where she's like, I mean, she denies it. She's like, yeah, I flirted with the two tall guys. And it was weird though, because she was like, I liked the taller one better. And now a lot of people in the comments are like, which one is the taller one? Because which one is the taller one, Jesse or Carl? But basically she's like, yeah, I flirted with them 100%, but no, none of that happened. I went home. And I'm surprised she's saying this because we were fine with it. And I don't believe her because I don't believe her. I think they did. I really think they did. It was just sort of like a given.
Mm.
Even
I
if
could
all your
see it.
castmates are saying it, right? Like everyone saw you guys. I don't know.
Yeah,
Isn't it
it's giving me the Joe Bradley and Luann thing all over again. But
100%, 100%.
not quite such a gap there. But at the same time, I remember hearing that Jesse had a girlfriend. But I mean,
What does that mean?
exactly.
That man will
It's
suck a
Jesse.
toe with a
Yes.
girlfriend, so who knows?
God, those Fred Flintstones. Jesus, I would never let them near me. But I could see it, and I could see Erica just being like, "What? It was fun, Jesse. It was fun, but
Exactly.
don't call me again." I could see her being like that, but I don't know.
Own
I
it,
don't
though.
think,
Own it.
I think if it did happen, Jesse's not going to be able to keep his mouth shut.
Well,
And that's a big mouth he's got there, and already it's hard to keep that shut with those big old chompers. But I think if it for sure happened, Jesse's gonna spill it. He will.
I was going to ask your opinion on her demeanor. I mean, I only listened to the podcast. I don't know if you heard the clip.
I didn't.
I was going to
No.
say, like, her demeanor is very like, oh, no, I didn't. I flirted with him, sure. But then again, she's always
That's
been
just her.
very, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, she's
No.
always been very plain, and you can never really feel any inflection or be able to tell from that anyway. So,
It's her.
I don't know,
We're
man.
on appeal. We're on
For legal
appeal.
reasons.
Yeah, we're on appeal. Like that's just kind of how. I don't know. Maybe the more I think about it, that's kind of a tell with Erica.
Yeah, exactly.
Might be.
Okay, let's move on to Teen Mom, and this is sort of like an interesting, heavy one. I want to give like a little backstory to Caitlin and Tyler because I always want to give a little context to what we're talking about, but not too much so because Caitlin and Tyler are sort of a staple in the Teen Mom community.
Right.
And I know, Caitlin, that you are not as typically, a teen mom watcher, but I know you have sort of a sense of who Caitlin and Tyler are. So just for a brief synopsis, how I talk at work.
Yeah.
Basically, they were two young kids who got pregnant as teenagers, and they were the only ones in the Teen Mom franchise who actually ended up giving up their daughter for adoption. And I know now I'm using the wrong terminology. I keep forgetting the new terminology now. Relinquishing their daughter for adoption. I think that's the proper terminology now. My apologies. And at the time, the show was really a documentary. They didn't know how big it was going to be. And they also didn't have parents that were really involved. Both of their parents were on drugs, were married to each other. Don't ask. And it was just like a whole hillbilly.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yep, you heard me.
Stop.
They
so they were step siblings?
Yeah, at some point in life. Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did I not know?
Yeah, it's wild. I definitely watched that period of time. But yeah, it was just such a mess. But they had the wherewithal at that young age to be like, we can't bring children into this mess. The parents were trying to be like, all you need is love. All you need is love. And they were like, no, you need money. You need stability. You need parents not on drugs, right? So they did the right thing 100%. But of course, you look back at the situation and they're so rich now and they actually stayed together, which is super rare, right? For a couple who not only so young, but also to have gone through what they've gone through. So they have several other children now. And the way their adoption worked was it is an open adoption with a couple named Brandon and Teresa. And over the years, we've seen Caitlin and Tyler struggle with that in and out. They've wanted to spend more time with their daughter, Carly. Basically, there'll be these, I don't even know if they're yearly visits. Sometimes it seems like they're every 2 years. And they did recently find out that Brandon and Teresa initially wanted a closed adoption. And there's just been a lot over the years of basically, Caitlin and Tyler just being too much and trying to force their way into the lives a little bit more. And then when it wasn't going their way, airing it on social media. So before we get into today's topic, I do just want to mention something to one of my beautiful reviewers, Victoria Snow, who's one of my Canadian commenters. And I just want to reach out to her first. Thank you for the 5-star review, but also thank you for mentioning that you don't agree with my opinions on Caitlin and Tyler. Now, you didn't say any more than that, but I appreciate you giving me a 5-star review despite disagreeing with me. But I keep looking at my phone as if like she's there in the phone. I'm gonna look at Caitlin. I appreciate you, Victoria Snow, for doing that, because one thing that Caitlin and I were even discussing beforehand, before we pressed record, was we love listening to podcasts where people have differing opinions. Like, it's just interesting to listen to. So thank you for saying that. But it made me want to go back and listen to what you meant. And when I went back and listened to the episode I think you're referring to, I definitely was very pro Caitlin and Tyler in terms of them feeling like they were almost like bamboozled by Brandon and Teresa, because Brandon and Teresa would be like, you're being too much, and we want to keep our privacy. But then at the same time, we found out now on the back end that Brandon and Teresa were actually very willing to show their daughter's face if it was for money, or do this sort of situation if money was involved. And then we saw an episode more recently where Dr. Drew, he's always involved. Dr. Drew was like, oh, Brandon and Teresa have this video of your daughter Carly singing at church that they want to play for you. And they're like, oh, that's amazing, but we want to do that in private. And once they wanted to do it in private, i.e. not on TV, they were not given the link, right? So it just seemed like, it definitely, in my episode, I want to say I definitely seemed very biased towards Caitlin and Tyler, because I felt like as two young people, they were sort of misled in lots of ways in terms of their adoption process. But that being said, it was a very complicated process. And I do also, while being so biased in that episode, want to, now listening back, realize, like, of course, I believe they were way too much with their social media, and they always are. The thing about them is, and any of our reality stars, guys, just like, keep it to yourselves. Don't air your dirty laundry out there, because you can't honestly expect to have a good relationship with the adoptive parents of your child if you're airing out their dirty laundry online all the time. And the apologies aren't enough, right? It's very James Kennedy in a way. It's very like, you can't apologize and then do it again, right? So I definitely think that they've been way too much over the years. And regardless of it being complicated, they've always tried to push themselves into the lives of their adopted childs, probably more so than Brandon and Teresa wanted, and didn't back off as much as they had wanted. And I can totally realize and appreciate that. They were, at the end of the day, you have relinquished her for adoption. You have to accept that those are the people that have now parented her. And at the end of the day, they've given her a good life. Whether they're money hungry or not, I'm sure they seem to have given her a very nice life. And, you have to be grateful for that at the end of the day. So thank God she's well, right? I mean, thank God for that. So I do want to say all of that on the side, but there has been some tea that has come out. So apparently Caitlin and Tyler were talking to some of their relinquished daughter Carly's classmates, and there was all these like texts going back and forth where they're saying things like, oh, she doesn't want, or she's not allowed to talk to you. I have some of them here. They're really interesting. They're like, oh, she doesn't want you to say that her siblings are her real brother and sister and things like that. And I was just like, oh my God, what is this? And then it turned out that they weren't actually coming from her actual classmates, that they were coming from like
catfish.
Yeah, like catfish people and like parodies or whatever, which is just like so sad and weird. And then they came out and like kind of spoke about it. I was going to play the video, but maybe not. But basically, like, I mean, there's two schools of thought on it. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe they were talking to minors and that they were talking to, or that they were trying to talk to minors. Because if you think about it, their relinquished daughter is in middle school, right? I think, or she's 16, I guess, but still, these are kids. And it's very weird for you to be having any sort of conversation with them to try to get to your daughter. Like, oh my God. But also these motherfucking catfish, like how dare, like who does that? Right. So there's also these two viewpoints. It's like, oh.
They're the adults. And this is, and you and I might have different opinions on this. It is highly inappropriate. I am a mom, and I cannot imagine how difficult and painful it is to even, I can't imagine being in a position where I would have to relinquish my newborn child. That is, there's something biological there that is truly beyond anything you can help. But they are merely at this point her biological parents. And there are so many people out there who have, everyone has to have some form of biological parents, but there are many people who don't consider their bio parents their parents. The people who adopted this child are her parents.
Yeah.
And they are being anything but mature adults. Caitlin and Tyler are. They shouldn't even be able to be catfished by a classmate.
Excellent point.
You shouldn't be speaking to a child. First of all, if you think that it's this classmate, you say, I don't want you speaking to someone you're a minor.
Right.
If your parent would like to speak with me, I'm happy to have a phone call with your parent.
You're absolutely right.
And it's why, like, if think about this, if some kid that's like 15 years old is DMing you, baby, I wish you the best, honey. I can tell you life. I don't even think I could give you life advice because it's inappropriate, to be completely honest, not without your parent sitting there with you. It just is. And so, unless this child directly reaches out to them and says, I need your help, then they need to let it go and STFU. Everything I've seen, to my understanding and knowledge, this young woman wants them to stop talking about her. And she wants nothing to, yes. So for them to continue to not respect that boundary,
I know.
She has not given consent for them to do this so much. And that I cannot imagine the nightmare of being in high school. High school is shitty enough as it is, but these two, and then to also have it out there that they were step siblings. My freaking God. This child probably gets enough as it is without these yahoos just going off the rails. I just think it's wildly inappropriate. I can't imagine.
You are so right. And I think, because I'm sort of psychologically analyzing myself in this, and I'm like, what is it about me that sides with them sometimes? And I think it's one, that we're watching their side and not the other, but two, I think it's what we talked about, like with Kristen Doute, where we're watching these people since they're 13 years old. Do you feel like you've grown up with them? are they fucking up 100%? But I almost feel like this is my parasocial. This is my family,
No,
like
truly.
Caitlin and Tyler. You know what I mean? And it's just I just feel so bad for them. You are 100% right. I just feel so bad for them. They're doing everything wrong.
They are
doing
you
this
want to see
wrong.
the best in them, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think that, and it's okay if you still see some things that are on their side. I just know, because I have a different standpoint, because I didn't grow up with them watching them.
I agree with everything you're saying.
Know,
I promise.
I mean, I think I tend, because also there's this is why I can see a certain aspect where, as a parent, and even if you are categorized as a biological parent and not also a parent who is raising the child, there is like this possessiveness that is naturally there over this child of yours. You're like, I have grown you, and you also are now outside of my body, but you are literally a portion of me. And so it's sometimes I'm like, I feel animalistic. Like if someone that is in like the extended family is like holding my kid for too long or something, I'm like, okay, it's mine. Give me back. Give me. And I'm not saying he's my possession, but you feel this possessiveness over them, because it's like, okay, no, that's too much. Come here. And I can't imagine what Caitlin and Tyler are going through with that. That's got to be so painful. But they made the choice that was good for this child at the time, and they need to stick to it. I think that's really what it comes down to. And if they would just shut up about her.
Yeah, but to clarify, it's not that they regret. Well, they have sort of said they regret giving her up to these people, but I think it's not that they regret giving her up relinquishing her, for adoption.
Right.
It's more so that the agreement, I think, was supposed to be these visits, and that they haven't been happening, and now they feel like the agreement didn't happen. And I mean, like, I sit there and I think, like, I feel bad for them in the sense that they were so young and didn't have any like legalities involved. And apparently you can't, like, it actually isn't a legal thing. And because they were so young, had to physically hand over the child off the property of the hospital, because that was the only way it could be done. And they had no parents for support. I don't even know if that would have helped. I just mean, I wonder if this could have gone differently if they had the support in place at the time. But they do have a beautiful family now, and that's wonderful. And it, like I said, it does seem like Carly is living a wonderful life with those parents, whether they're love money or not. Anyways, one other amazing news that does come out of Teen Mom is Mackenzie and Cassiano. Is that how you pronounce his name? Cassiano have just gotten married. So her backstory is she got pregnant as a teenager, very Christian family. The guy, though, was such like a redneck and a piece of shit. You barely heard him say anything. They have 2 more kids. They eventually get divorced. He's a piece of shit. I really have no other words. She moves to Florida, and current day, he like doesn't even text his kids back. Josh McKee, he's like this piece of shit dad, where like there's these really sad scenes where like Mackenzie's like, hey, like, have you talked to your dad? And they're like, we text him, he doesn't respond. And it's just like, oh my God, that's really awful. So, Casanio actually wants to adopt them. And I think we've seen sort of that process start. But right now, she gave birth to, I believe, twins with him. And I think they did it either through IVF or IUI, because she suffers with diabetes and she had some complicated pregnancies prior. But apparently they also got married in the interim as well back in April. So I just want to say congratulations to Mackenzie and Casanio, because you see these people start at the beginning and they seem to have these very rough beginnings. Whether on the show or not, it's still, a very traumatic experience, all the different things that they're going through. Because it's never just teen pregnancy. It's also, there's always like addiction issues, family issues, lots of other things going on. So when I see them make it at the end of the day, I'm like, good for you. I'm happy to see it at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Like a happy ending. Everyone deserves that, especially after going through that.
100%. And to find like a good man after all that, who's going to take on somebody else's kids and to want to adopt them and give them the love that they don't have with their biological dad. I mean, that's amazing. How many men do that, right?
That and you know what? I love to see it. It sets a great example for how it can happen, how you can find that.
Exactly. All right. Well, I loved having you here today. I think let's wrap it up here. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you and follow you, listen to your show, all about you. Go. Do it,
Yes,
girl.
thank you so much again for having me. It's so fun chatting with you. You can find me at Besties by Caitlin, and Caitlin is spelled Caitlin on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. My podcast, Besties by Bravo, the name is getting changed to Besties by Caitlin.
Okay.
So if you're looking
Keep
for
us in the know.
yes, I'm trying to like forewarn everyone in
Okay.
case anyone has issues with change. And yeah, just give me a good old follow and listen to the pod. I do the recaps and all of that. And I love me some Bravo and reality TV friends.
That's amazing. Thanks so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator Podcast in partnership with Hurrdat Media. You can watch full-length videos on Hurrdat Entertainment's YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at The Bravo Investigator. If you enjoy the show, please leave me a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.
A Hurrdat Media Production.